All right, today we are diving headfirst into one of the most incredible landscapes in all of psychology, the inner world as mapped out by the one and only Carl Jung. Now, for all of you studying or working in this field, this isn't just some dusty old theory. Think of it as an essential field guide for understanding the full, messy, beautiful complexity of your clients and, of course, of yourself. So let's just start with a fundamental question. You have a sense of who you are, right? Your identity, that feeling of I. But what if that was just the starting point? What if there were entire continents of your own personality that you've just never explored? Jung was convinced of it, and lucky for us, he left behind a map. Okay, so every good map has a "you are here" marker. And for us, that starting point is the territory you know best, the part of you that's listening to me right now, the ego. So, in Jung's view, the ego is basically the command center of your conscious life. It's the CEO of your day-to-day operations. All your conscious thoughts, your feelings, your memories, they all report back to the ego. It's that familiar voice in your head, the I that makes decisions, that forms judgments, and that gives you that steady sense of who you are from one day to the next. It's the hero of your own story, or at least it thinks it is. But here is where Jung drops a bombshell, and honestly, it's a total game changer. The ego, as important as it feels, is not the whole picture, not even close. He argued that our total personality is so much bigger, so much vaster. The conscious ego is really just the tip of this colossal psychological iceberg. And that means the most important question for any of us who are students of the mind becomes, what in the world is going on beneath the surface? This right here, this comparison really frames our entire journey. On one side, you've got the ego, the center of your conscious world, what we just talked about. But Jung puts that up against something way, way bigger. The self. And as you can see, the self isn't just about what's conscious. It's the center of the total personality, the conscious and the unconscious, all rolled into one. You know, if the ego is a planet, the self is the entire galaxy it belongs to. So our journey, the journey of this explainer, is from the ego to the self. So let's take that first step. Let's move to our first stop on this inner map. The first territory we hit when we leave the well-lit streets of the ego. It's a place that Jung called the shadow. And let me tell you, this first step is not for the faint of heart. Jung says it's a deep moral problem that challenges the whole personality. It's the work of turning around and actually looking at the parts of yourself you'd much rather pretend aren't there, the bits you've pushed down, ignored, or just plain failed to see. It's a tough first step, but it is absolutely essential for any real self-knowledge. So what is this shadow exactly? Well, think of it as your personal unconscious, a kind of psychological storage unit for everything you've repressed. But, and this is so important, it's not just a bag of evil stuff. Sure, your less than flattering treats are in there, but it can also hold incredible, positive qualities that your ego just couldn't make room for. Really, the shadow is everything you are that you don't know you are. And as a clinician, you have to be aware of this, because this is the source of that intense countertransference, those sudden, gut reactions you get to a client. All right, so once we've at least started to acknowledge and integrate our shadow, the journey takes us even deeper into the unconscious. And here, we find something totally different. This contrasexual figure that has a massive influence on our inner life and our relationships. Now, Jung gave this idea a pretty funky name, the Psyche. I know, it's a mouthful. But you can really just think of it as the unconscious other half that lives inside each of us. This inner figure of the opposite sex, it kind of acts like a gatekeeper to the even deeper parts of the unconscious. And man, it is the source of our most powerful projections. It's why we fall head over heels in love or have these incredibly intense, sometimes irrational reactions to certain people. And here's how that breaks down. For a man, this inner feminine figure is called the anima. She's his connection to his own feelings, his moods, his ability to relate. For a woman, this inner masculine figure is the animus. He represents her capacity for logic, for strong opinions, for assertiveness. For any of you planning to practice, understanding these inner figures is absolutely crucial for untangling the incredibly complex dynamics of attraction and conflict that your clients will bring to you. So, after we've navigated the personal darkness of the shadow and the powerful archetypes of the anima or animus, our journey on this map finally reaches its center, its ultimate destination, the self. Okay, so what is this self we've been working towards? First things first, it is not the ego. The self is the ultimate organizing principle, this higher center that holds everything, and I mean everything together. The conscious and unconscious, the light and the shadow. If the ego is the captain of the ship, frantically steering the wheel, the self is the invisible ocean current and the stars in the sky that are truly guiding the whole voyage. It's the regulating center that brings a kind of order to the chaos. So you might be wondering, okay, this sounds cool, but how do we know the self is even real? Well, Jung's answer was that the psyche gives us clues. It spontaneously produces symbols of wholeness, and it does this across every culture and throughout all of history. Think about the mandala, that sacred circle, which represents unity, or the number 4, the quaternity, which pops up everywhere as a symbol of balance and completion. Jung even saw figures like Christ or the alchemist's philosopher's stone as these powerful cultural symbols of a unified, whole human being. These symbols are basically the psyche's way of pointing a giant arrow toward its own center. So let's bring this all home. What's the practical point of all this? Why does this map matter for you as a student or as a clinician? Well, because this isn't just some abstract model. It's a description of the vital, lifelong process of becoming a whole person. When you boil it all down, the entire journey can be distilled into these essential stages. Step 1, you have to own your shadow. You integrate what was once unconscious into your conscious life. Doing that makes step 2 possible, recognizing and understanding the anima or animus, and pulling back all those powerful projections you've put onto other people. And taking both of those steps, well, that fundamentally reorients your entire personality. It shifts your center of gravity away from the little ego and toward the much greater totality of the self. Jung had a name for this whole process, individuation. It's the journey of becoming who you are truly meant to be, a complete, distinct, and whole individual. And the goal here, let's be clear, is not perfection. That's impossible. The goal is wholeness, which means embracing all the parts of yourself, even the ones you don't like. For any of you who want to be a therapist, understanding this journey isn't just academic. It's the very path you have to walk yourself to gain the self-knowledge you'll need to guide anyone else. Look, at the end of the day, Jung has given us an absolutely incredible map. It shows us the terrain, it points out the major landmarks, and it shows us the final destination. But a map is not the territory itself. The journey of individuation is deeply personal, and it's one that each of us has to take for ourselves. So the only real question left is, where are you going to start?